Hello, my name is Jason, and I am the creator of Painting Films, amateur oil painting tutorials. I would like to welcome you to this video, where I will show you how I used oil paints to produce this waterfall in a forest. This painting was completed on a 16-inch by 20-inch black canvas that I purchased from a local art supply store. I hope you can find something useful in this video to use in your own work. So without further ado, let us begin. After my rough outline is dry, I begin this painting by putting in a nice blue sky and then some fluffy white clouds. The sky is made of a mix of phthalo blue and titanium white, and the clouds are also titanium white. Once I complete the sky, I begin blocking in colors. What I mean is that I am putting down base colors upon which I will paint more detailed objects later. I begin by mixing a nice grayish cliff color. As I've mentioned in a previous video, the farther things get from the viewer, the lighter and bluer they get. So you will see how, as I paint the ground colors, they get progressively darker and browner as they near us. These colors are simply different values of a mix using titanium white, ivory black, burnt umber, and Van Dyke brown. To block the water in the pool at the bottom, I used phthalo and Prussian blue as well as varying degrees of titanium white and ivory black. Then I block in the waterfall itself using my palette knife and straight titanium white. After that, I use a brush to add more detail and blur it. As you see, I was not happy with the original direction at the top of the falls, so I changed it, then covered the old fall with a gray-brown color. Next, I block in green for foliage. At this point, I am not really 100% sure what will be on these cliffs, but since it's spring, I wanted to move away from snow and start painting greenery again. Once these colors are blocked in, I will stop and leave this painting to dry. On the second round with this painting, I block in more green. In order to speed the drying process, I mix Galkyd with the colors. Since I had last painted, I had watched a wonderful tutorial on YouTube by artist Michael James Smith that shows a 3-step method for painting really nice trees. Consequently, I was excited to complete this painting, and that's why I wanted it to dry quicker. Following his method, I put in low lights first, using a green mix with a lot of black in it. Then I put in very yellow highlights. I end up painting over my first highlights because they look like bushes instead of trees, but that isn't the method's fault, it's mine. Next, I block in mossy colors down the cliffs. Notice how I place the greens in varying values and at angles that slope towards the central falls. Then I will leave it overnight. On the third and final day of this project, I try Michael James Smith's method again, trying not to make bushes. I mix fresh green colors using sap green, viridian, Indian lemon yellow, yellow ochre, ivory black, and titanium white to create different values. I put in lowlights first, bringing the foliage down to the edge of the cliff. You will notice I chose my light source to be coming from the upper left, so my shadows are to the bottom right. After completing the lowlights, I realize I need some tree trunks to help me paint trees, not bushes. So before I put in highlights, I start painting trunks. I use mixes of burnt umber, Van Dyke brown, ivory black, titanium white, and a lot of paint thinner to make the impressions of trunks on the cliffs. Once this is done, continue to follow Mr. Smith's method. I use the corner of a fan brush to place highlights. Here you see me putting down those highlights, again using just the corner of the fan brush. Next, I put in some slate or shale, some kind of rock formations down the nearest slope at various places using ivory black, burnt umber, and titanium white on my palette knife. Notice it is darkest right at the point of the water because that is where vegetation would struggle to root, and therefore it would be perpetually dark. Once I do that, I use a brush to make the edges a bit softer as needed. Then I work at the pool at the bottom. Because of the amount of Galkid I had used the day before, this pool was not 100% dry yet. I had to really use some muscle to green this water more. Water in the woods is not very blue, but it is really a dark green. I also had highlights using a fan brush and thinned titanium white. Once that is done, I proceed to put in vegetation down the slope. This picture of the falls is loosely based on the Dark Hollow Falls in Shenandoah Park in Virginia. Therefore, I try to put in a lot of mossy and grassy growths down the slope where there is not a great deal of sunlight. Once I'm happy with the vegetation, I decide to put in a small tree just to add some pop to the painting. It was too green for me, therefore I use a mix of Van Dyke brown, ivory black, and titanium white for the trunk and branches, then use alizarin crimson, lemon yellow, burnt sienna, and yellow ochre for the leaves. I think it adds a nice touch to the painting. Finally, I go to finish the water itself. Using a mix of phthalo blue, titanium white, and a touch of ivory black, I put shadows in the waterfall first. Then, using straight titanium white on my palette knife, I put more color on the falls themselves, letting the water break as it nears the bottom. I use the knife and a brush to create the splash at the bottom. Then I add a few ripples to the water using gray and white. Finally, I sign it, and I call this one done. The total time for this painting was about 4 hours. As always, thank you for watching these videos. If they help you, please let me know. Also, if you have a request for something else to see, please let me know. I cannot guarantee I will make it, but I promise I will consider it. I hope you've enjoyed this video. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day, and I wish you happy painting.